Good evening, everyone. Oneida County has a new interim county executive tonight. Assistant Majority Leader Raymond Meyer will take over when John Plumlee's resignation goes into effect on January the 15th. Meyer is a lawyer. He's been a county legislator for the 35th District for 5 years. Meyer was chosen tonight by the Oneida County Republicans in a screening session at party headquarters. Legislative Majority Leader Robert Julian said the 24 Republican legislators were nearly unanimous in choosing Meyer and that Meyer's legislative experience had a lot to do with the choice.
These are very difficult times. The state is cutting back. We felt that on-the-job training was not something that we could afford, that we needed to elevate a legislator who has been intimately involved in the preparation of the last several county budgets. That's Ray Meyer.
Meyer was not available for comment tonight, but he is going to hold a news conference at 10:30 tomorrow morning. There has been some controversy about tonight's screening session. Bob Julian said that Meyer was the only person who asked to be screened for the job, but that doesn't necessarily mean he was the only one interested in it. New Hartford Town Supervisor John Kazanjian tonight issued a statement saying that he would not take part in the screening process. In a news release, Kazanjian said he thought the decision should not be made without input from people outside the county legislature. The Iraqi foreign minister was supposed to meet today at the White House with President Bush, but instead there was just more tough talk from Baghdad. That brought a response in kind from President Bush. But as John Cochran tells us, if you listened to him very carefully today, you could detect some give in his position on when Secretary of State Baker should meet Saddam Hussein.
The president wants Baker to go to Baghdad on January 3rd, not January 12th, as Saddam wants. But today, Bush seemed to show a little flexibility.
And so I just would leave it calmly where it sits right now without speculating on what I might or might not do.
Later, Bush met with diplomats from 27 countries allied with him in Operation Desert Shield. He told them to blame Saddam for the failure to agree on a time for Jim Baker's mission. And again, Bush signaled a compromise is possible on the timing.
For our part, we remain open to having these meetings if mutually acceptable dates can be agreed upon.
But although Bush may be softening on when Baker should meet Saddam, he is not softening on what Baker should tell Saddam.
No concession, no negotiation for 1 inch of territory, and Mr. Saddam Hussein, you must simply do what the world is calling upon you to do. Get out.
Secretary Baker was at NATO headquarters today trying to make sure the European coalition against Iraq doesn't have any weak links.
We've got to show that this is a united coalition of United Nations against them.
Today, Bush told of a weekend conversation he had with a foreign leader. Sources say Bush was referring to Turkey's President Özal.
One of the great leaders on that part of the world told me that he feels that Saddam Hussein simply does not understand the debate in this country. He thinks it means that our country is divided.
One way Bush hopes to unite Americans is by showing a little flexibility over the timing of the Baker mission to Baghdad. If Bush goes to war, he does not want his critics saying it was because he was pig-headed over a few dates on the calendar.
Meanwhile, from Iraq today, there was nothing but more tough talk. Here's Mike Betcher.
Tariq Aziz was meeting with the president today, his own president. Saddam Hussein, who had canceled his foreign minister's trip to Washington, did not seem like a man who was ready to book a new flight for Aziz. After a meeting of the Revolutionary Command Council, Iraq's leaders did not sound like men ready to compromise. Their statement said, "We reject surrender and ridicule, and that Iraq would not be intimidated by fleets and forces of evil." As if to show that it was ready to back up the tough talk, Iraq today announced another major Army buildup. This time, all men born in 1957 who were Army reservists were ordered to report for duty.
Meanwhile, if the United States goes to war in the Persian Gulf, a Syracuse airport will become a receiving area for wounded soldiers. According to military officials tonight, the Air National Guard 174th Tactical Fighter Wing hangar at Hancock Field would be one of 80 sites nationwide that the wounded would be flown to for relay to surrounding hospitals. We'll have more news after this.
No matter how many people on your Christmas list, you'll find everything you need at Faye's.
Give her this Love Spray Mist collection, only $9.77. Don't forget the Energizer batteries this Christmas, priced from just $1.97. And Tylenol Extra Strength tablets, 60 count, are only $3.84.
Catch the spirit of Christmas at Faye's.
Buick presents a special price opportunity on the little limousine, Skylark.
Well, you know, it is such a pleasure to sell somebody a car and to know that you're selling them something that they're going to really enjoy.
Now, a whopping $1,250 cash back helps you buy Skylark loaded for about $11,000 before individual dealer discount and trade-in allowance.
America is back, and it's back with a car called Buick.
The great American value at your Central New York Buick dealers now.
There was an urgent meeting and a warning on America's banks today from William Seidman. He is the man who is in charge of insurance for bank deposits. That insurance fund holds $9 billion. But Seidman says that bank failures next year could wipe out $5 billion or more, much more. Irving R. Levine reports.
Banks are going broke because they can't collect on loans they made, often high-risk loans. And in the end, the taxpayer may get the bill. New York's Freedom Bank went under because people who borrowed money to buy a car or repair a house couldn't make payments when the recession hit. The number of people who are behind on payments has grown 20% this year. Many are seeking advice on how to get out of debt.
Okay, so what we'll have to do is we'll have to go over your monthly budget.
Then there are much bigger loans that have driven banks to ruin, loans to oil drillers, to land speculators, and to real estate developers. The Bank of New England and others around the country have suffered staggering losses because of investments in buildings they couldn't rent.
It's a chain reaction of too much space, too many competing buildings.
On top of all this, multi-billion-dollar loans to developing countries that can't make payments. As a result, bank failures have grown from 10 in 1980 to over 200 last year. When a bank goes broke, it's up to the government fund that insures savings to pay off depositors. That insurance fund is being drained. The fund is supposed to hold $1.25 for every $100 on deposit. The fund will be down to only 20 cents for every $100 next year. Congress heard today that bank failures in a severe recession would leave the fund short $63 billion to pay off depositors. Officials say contributions from healthy banks will rebuild the fund, but there were doubts.
Isn't it more like than not that somehow or other the taxpayers are going to have to put money up to deal with this situation?
My view is that anything beyond a mild recession runs a significant risk of ending up with a taxpayer hit.
Officials say that taxpayers won't be called on to bail out the fund, but there were the same assurances before taxpayers were handed a $500 billion bill to pay for S&L failures. Irving R. Levine, NBC News, Washington.
And the state of New York state finances went from bad to worse today. Comptroller Edward Regan said that New York's budget deficit could reach $1.4 billion this fiscal year and $4 billion next year. The gloomy fiscal forecast means that the governor and the legislature may have to come up with even more spending cuts to balance New York State's $50 billion budget for the fiscal year ending March 31st. And it could make next year's state budget even harsher than the tight spending package state leaders already say they'll impose. New Yorkers were socked this year with a record $1.8 billion in new taxes. And on top of that, the legislature late last week approved spending cuts designed to help avert a potential billion-dollar deficit in this year's budget. And that means that not only have taxes gone up, but state aid and services provided with state dollars have been scaled back. Financial responsibility. That's the lesson to be taught to some Rome area Eagle Scouts as they work to earn their personal management merit badge. Molly Graves explains.
The Scouts are getting help from the Upstate Federal Credit Union in Rome. Bank volunteers are working with the boys on several different financial aspects.
At the first meeting, they learned all about savings accounts and how to save money and budget it, so we're hoping that they learn how to budget their money. This meeting, they're learning all about credit and getting loans and how not to overextend on credit. And it doesn't seem like an 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old could comprehend this, but they do. And just a couple of years down the road, they're going to be wanting to buy cars and everything, getting credit cards for the first time. So we're hoping to help them out.
At least one lesson already learned by the Eagle Scouts was not to hide your Christmas money under the mattress.
Under a mattress, it could be stolen, or in a fire it could be burned. Where in a bank, it's insured, and it's going to grow in a bank where it won't in a mattress.
Most of the Scouts already have a pretty good concept of fiscal fitness when it comes to allowance.
I'm paying off $2 every week for a bowling ball, and I put $1 in my a week in my savings account.
The boys will get their merit badges in April if they complete a 90-day budget plan successfully. The plan requires the kids to help parents do the shopping, consider rent, utility, and credit card payments, as well as how to protect credit ratings. Molly Graves, TV2 News.
The way is finally clear for Canadian Pacific to buy the D&H Railway. Officials today announced the Conrail company, Conrail, has given CP limited access to a vital stretch of track between Buffalo and Niagara Falls, New York. The agreement reached late last week removed the final obstacle in the $25 million sale, and in fact, it ended months of negotiations over the disputed stretch between the Buffalo-Niagara Gateway. And the 30-mile gateway is vital to CP's plans to use the D&H system to connect the ports of Philadelphia and New York with the Canadian interior. The agreement also puts CP in direct competition now with Conrail.
Today's stock report is brought to you by Allvest Financial Services Incorporated at Albany Savings Bank, Sangertown Square.
The stock market lost a little bit of ground today. Declining issues led gainers by 2-1, and trading was light. The Dow Jones Industrials today lost 49 cents. Closing at 2593.32, the average share lost 9 cents, and the volume totaled over 118 million shares. The 5 most active stocks were Chrysler, Unisys Corporation, American Express, Citicorp, and Philip Morris. Checking local stocks, ConMed closed up, Partech lost an eighth, U.S. Air and Phase Drugs both closed up, DuPont and 9X both closed down. General Electric closed down a quarter, Niagara Mohawk was up. Fleet Norstar lost a half a point. Oneida Limited was up. Laser Precision closed down an eighth. On the precious metals market, gold closed at $377.50 an ounce, up 80 cents. Silver closed at $3.96 an ounce, up 2 cents.
Here are some rates on consumer loans offered by Albany Savings Bank. Today's stock report has been brought to you by Allvest Financial Services Incorporated at Albany Savings Bank, Sangertown Square.
Mavis will be along with the forecast in just a moment.
Season's greetings from your friends at Rome Savings Bank.
On the next Golden Girls, Sophia loses her job.
You have to deliver these on your break.
In your dreams. I'm a sunshine lady, not a teamster.
Finding work hits a sour note.
All right. Take 5. Even a seagull stopped listening.
And everyone's paying the price.
I never saw a more perfect piece of fruit.
Then try kissing my behind. It's a real peach.
Earning a living on the next Golden Girls.
Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. on WKTV. Well, we're in for some almost spring-like weather, I guess, for a little while, huh?
Well, but we've got to get through tonight first, unfortunately. It's raining outside right now, and we're not going to see the end of that rain for a little while. Today's high was 32 degrees with a low of 27. We had those clouds today, and it started to rain outside right now. Last year's high was 20 degrees with a low of 13, and they had clouds last year as well. Right now, the barometer is at 29.86 and falling. Humidity is at 88%, and winds are out of the east at 12 miles an hour, gusting up to 22 miles an hour. As we look ahead at the national scene, you can see this rain is completely concentrated right here, but it is moving in our direction. As a matter of fact, it's gotten here, as I just said. And more importantly, we have a freezing rain advisory in effect for tonight through the morning hours. The National Weather Service says ice will probably accumulate on sidewalks by morning, even though temperatures will rise overnight. So be careful. As we look ahead, why don't we look ahead tomorrow's national outlook scene? We can see what's in store for us after the temperatures do warm up overnight, and we can see that rain's going to move right into our area, and temperatures will actually be warmer than 40 degrees. They'll be up even close to 50 in the high 40s, and so that will put an end to the freezing rain, but we will have moisture actually through Wednesday. Now we'll take a look around our state at this hour and check out the temperatures. And we have 45 degrees down in New York, 34 in Binghamton, 39 out in Buffalo, and here in Utica we're at our low temperature for the day, 27 degrees. And as we look ahead for the rest of tonight, again, as I said, there's that freezing rain advisory through morning. We'll have lows in the mid-20s early in the night, and the wind will be out of the south between 10 and 20 miles an hour. And tomorrow we can expect periods of rain with highs in the mid to upper 40s, as I said, and that is a near 100% chance of that rain. The winds will be out of the southwest at 10 to 20 miles an hour. Sunrise will be at 7:28, and sunset will be at 4:27. Tomorrow night will be mild with rain continuing. The lows will be in the mid-40s, and that's a 90% chance of that rain. Wednesday we can expect rain in the morning and then some clearing in the afternoon. Temperatures will be steady or fall into the 30s, and we'll have an 80% chance of precipitation. There is a chance of snow, freezing rain, or rain both Thursday and Friday. Highs both days will be in the upper 20s to low 30s, and lows will be in the upper teens. As we look at our lottery numbers for tonight, the New York Daily Lottery number is 719. That's 719. And the win for number is 6948. That's 6948.
Well, they got a little rumble out in the Midwest. We'll talk about it. It wasn't the New Madrid rumble, but close. Thank you, Matus. Some Indiana residents are a little bit shaken tonight. Nobody was hurt when a mild earthquake rattled the west central part of the state early today. No damage reported in Indiana. Officials say it had no connection to the New Madrid fault elsewhere in the state. Federal, state, and local officials gathered off Rick Meyer Road this morning to host a ceremonial drink of water, marking the beginning of a long-awaited program. Dick Lawler reports.
It's being hailed as the miracle of Route 365, the start of construction of the $7.8 million water project that will bring nearly 700 properties in East Rome and the town of Floyd pure drinking water. Footing the bill for the extension of the present Rome water system is the United States government. The action was necessitated by many wells in the area, the only source of drinking water being judged as contaminated. Rome Mayor Carl Eilenberg, master of ceremonies for today's event, noted the spirit of cooperation by all those involved.
A terrific example of government doing what government does best, solving problems. I think the congressman said it. He used an expression that he's been using for years, cooperation, not confrontation.
According to Wanda Schroeder of SAC Command, the Air Force's involvement in the area will continue long after the laying of approximately 35 miles of pipeline.
We're not done just when we put in a water line. We need to come back and restore the groundwater to drinking water quality.
From the Rick Meyer Road in the town of Floyd, this is Dick Lawler reporting for TV2 News.
And some East Utica residents found some holiday cheer at their doorsteps this evening. About 50 East Utica and West Frankfort Girl Scouts met at the Albany Street School Gymnasium to practice a few jingles before heading out to carol in the neighborhood. After an hour of door-to-door caroling in the nippy weather tonight, the Girl Scouts were welcomed back into the gym with some hot chocolate and some Christmas treats to warm them up, and then Santa Claus also made an appearance at the school to thank the girls for helping him spread the holiday spirit. A convicted murderer staged an elaborate escape from the maximum security Coxsackie State Prison this morning, only to be caught by, of all things, a minor traffic infraction. 24-year-old Fred Diaz was apprehended about 6 this morning after troopers noticed he was driving a car that had no license plates. Turned out the car was stolen from a lot across the street from the prison. Diaz is serving a 50...
Business World, contact the Utica School.
This is ABC News Nightline. Substituting for Ted Koppel and reporting